Hey everyone, Matron here bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary, this time a game between HuK and RedArchon. RedArchon spawning as the Red Terran and HuK as the Blue Protoss. The map is Xel'naga Caverns. This is first round action from 2010 Blizzcon tournament. RedArchon is one of the two players from Southeast Asia. HuK is one of the two players from North America, as Blizzard's brought in players from all over the world to compete in this tournament. 16 players in all. So I wanted to bring you a bit of this tournament as I got the replays in. This is a game I don't believe was seen on the live stream, so hopefully it's a good one. HuK sending out that initial scout after the 9 pylon, and again, always famous for doing all sorts of harass, especially against Terran players. As always, he does check these watchtowers. Checking the watchtowers can show you whether the Terran player is building a barracks outside the base or maybe outside your base, any sort of cheese that might be happening. Not as much cheese as possible now that they have to build a supply depot before the barracks. One other thing you can see with the towers is if there's an SCV heading over to your side of the map as well. And if you don't see that enter your base, you know it's down in the south side doing dirty things outside your base, and then you scout for it. So HuK getting all the intel he can and doing damage with this probe, letting its shields regenerate, and then going to engage and do some more damage to these SCVs. RedArchon is now coming over with his own scout and is going to see what's going on in HuK's base. Per usual, HuK throws up that 14 gateway. Very late gateway. Most players do 12 or 13. If you want to get out gateway and warp gate tech very quickly, you'll go a 10 gateway. But HuK, very economical player, wants to make sure that he gets those probes chrono boosted out before he throws up that gateway. RedArchon just sort of chilling in the base here, wants to see what the second building that HuK makes is, whether he's going to open with the second gateway for early zealot pressure or the normal cybernetics core, which it looks like he's going to do. So both players opening normal standard way for these two races. Again, Terran's opener is sort of nerfed a little bit in the previous two patches here, as you don't see as many early barracks or as much Reaper play, though you didn't often see Reaper play in this matchup anyway. RedArchon has his SCV down to 5 hit points, so one more shot from one of HuK's probes. Looks like he's able to finish him off there. First blood is drawn in this matchup. And it looks like RedArchon is going to throw down this fast command center. It's an 18 command center, so very quick. He does have out a number of, well, it looks like one Marine right now is going to try to reclaim this watchtower and sending out another SCV. He wants to make sure that HuK's not doing any sort of proxy Stargate or proxy even robotics that we see often. HuK sending out his first zealot, and he just wants to make sure there's nothing going up for RedArchon. Maybe RedArchon was planning on a proxy here. Can't ever be sure. He might have done a proxy factory, some Hellion harass or something, but that's going to be shut down if that was his plan by this scouting HuK. So again, both players just sort of taking the middle of the map. HuK has also thrown down this expansion here. I'm not sure he knows about the expansion for RedArchon. It looks like he does not. He's just choosing to use this expansion quickly anyway. Just pushing out of one gateway for now. If you look at the unit tab, he does have 2 Stalkers and a Zealot. RedArchon has the 5 Marines right now. The Marines at the top of the ramp are going to be able to deny any sort of scouting from probes of HuK. So this command center is finished. Nexus will be shortly behind it. HuK's going to work on these rocks, putting his army to work. And these Marines are going to try to take out this probe. RedArchon is trying to hide this command center, but the probe is going to be able to see it, so he knows that his opponent does have 2 bases up now, trying to get all the information he can with this probe before it goes down to these Marines. Just see as the 3 barracks right now, 1 reactor and 1 tech lab. RedArchon does throw up the second tech lab after the probe dies, and it looks like HuK is going to try to push out, throw down a forward pylon, and do some damage with Stalkers here. All these Marines are probably going to be able to push away these Stalkers. There's quite a few. At least take down the shields, as HuK pulls them away before they take any sort of real HP damage. We saw HuK use these stalkers very well to harass the drones of Hydra in MLG DC. So he may be just poking, being aggressive with these stalkers, trying to take down as much as he can. See, he has moved this low HP stalker to the very back, though it does get taken down right there. So just trying to do as much damage as he can to these Marines. Marines mostly a half-life. And just going to try to focus down a number of them, pulling back stalkers as they get low. Doing a great job micromanaging these stalkers. Is going to lose a few here, but he can get up behind these minerals and start doing damage to these SCVs. So in control here. If we look at the production tab, HuK just pushing more probes out as SCVs and Stim are coming for RedArchon. RedArchon needs to retreat to this bunker when these stalkers engage his army, but the bunker does not have range behind the minerals, so he's going to have to pull back all these SCVs and mules, wasting a lot of mining time on those mules. So HuK was able to reduce the income of RedArchon for a number of minutes there. Finally, I think he's going to be pushed away by these marauders, as they do have concussive shell up. Looks like a bit of a squeeze play by HuK coming from the left and the south as well. Just continuing to warp in more and more units. Now Zealot's going to try to push back those marauders if they do take on those stalkers again. See both players checking all around, make sure that nothing is going to be a surprise in this matchup. He was able to take down the orbital command about a quarter of the way. See RedArchon has supply capped himself now, having to throw down 2 supply depots. So that harassment by HuK may be throwing him off this game. We see a robotics facility coming up for HuK at the expansion here. And if we look at the income tab, 44 harvesters to 31 right now. So quite the advantage for HuK. The mules are going to make it a little more even, though we do see the Zealots coming in here. They're going to try to take down this bunker. HuK does a great job with these force fields so that the SCVs cannot get to this bunker in time. One thing we've seen from HuK quite a bit is force fields around those bunkers to prevent the SCVs from repairing them. And now just the 3 marauders here, 2 in the bunker. I'm going to try to push away these stalkers. That marauder focused down, and now HuK is up in the base of RedArchon here, bringing in more stalkers to support, and RedArchon's going to have to pull off all of his SCVs to try to take on these stalkers. HuK moving around the base expertly, taking down these marauders as he's able to focus them down. Now just doing as much damage to the economy of RedArchon as possible, focusing down units, and going to lose all of his force there. If we look at the army tab, both players very small armies, 600 to 300. HuK has been warping in. He is just still in the 3 gateways right now, but he is getting up a second robotics facility and a robotics bay. So it looks like he's going to be going heavy Colossi to try to counter this Marine Marauder ball. We do see a starport coming up for RedArchon, so we may see some medevacs at first, but he will soon get some Vikings up to deal with the Colossi once he sees them. Looks like this reactor has been prepared for the starport. Both players just recovering now from that early aggression that HuK was showing. HuK is throwing down pylons all over the map, doesn't want any sort of drops or surprises from RedArchon. Look at the production tab. It looks like HuK has 2 Colossi on the way, as well as a Twilight Council. Wonder if he's going to get out that Twilight Council for any sort of blink or charge upgrade, or perhaps he may be going for Templar Archives. Looks like he's going to start with charge lots, which are a great partner with those Colossi once you can get them up. The charge lots are going to keep everything far away from the Colossi, and they're going to be able to do a lot of damage to the Marines and Marauders. In come tons of Zealots for HuK as he does prepare for that charge upgrade. If we look at the unit tab, right now it's 12 Zealots, an Immortal, and 2 Colossi coming out against just the 11 Marauders and 5 Marines for RedArchon. He does have his first medevac out and should be pumping a few more here. We'll have 4 total in just a second. HuK's throwing up pylons all over the map. This is going to tell him if there's any sort of movement by RedArchon, if RedArchon has any sort of drops coming, or if he's trying to establish an expansion here. He's going to see it. So HuK just treating the pylons like overlords here, taking control of this map. Look how much of the map he can see right now, going to HuK's vision, whereas RedArchon is just on his little corner here. Probe coming in for some more scouting. We do see a possible drop coming from RedArchon here. So that probe does get taken down. Didn't see too much, maybe the army a little bit of RedArchon. And now RedArchon doing a great job of moving this medevac along the outside of the map. HuK is going to be able to see it with his pylon though, so he is going to expect this drop if he saw that red dot. And yes, look, he's spawned in 2 or 3 stalkers in fact, and he's going to be able to be ready for this medevac as it comes along here. So this medevac is going to go down to these 3 stalkers, and he's going to lose all of his units inside there. Raven has come down in response to these stalkers that HuK had been using before. Point defense drones can be very powerful against the stalkers. And without those stalkers, the marauders are going to be quite powerful. Looks like Vikings coming out now that RedArchon has seen those Colossi. And again, RedArchon is just in this small corner of the map, and HuK has map control entirely here. See the extended thermal lance about to finish for HuK, and another 2 Colossi. HuK is almost on his 3rd base as well. Look at the unit tab, 67 harvesters for HuK to 62 for RedArchon, so both players a ton of SCVs and probes, very good economies going. 1700 for RedArchon and 1600 for HuK. So both players getting a lot of resources, both keeping their spending down well below 200-300 minerals at a time. So just macroing up 2 big armies here. We'll see whether the charge lots and Colossi of HuK are going to be able to take on this MM ball of RedArchon. RedArchon has prepared these Vikings as well as a Raven to try to counter what HuK has been showing. But HuK has shied away from these stalkers a little bit. It might hurt him as he needs to take down these Vikings so these Colossi don't go down. Vikings are shooting from the side, doing a great job just kiting along, getting free pot shots on this Colossi. As the Marines Marauders are backing up, these Colossi are going to go down to these Vikings. Zealot's doing a lot of damage here to the Marines and Marauders, but just so many Marauders. This point defense drone goes down and is protecting these Vikings. All the Colossi are now down. The Immortals being focused down by these Marines Marauders. The Stalkers should go down to the Marauders. As more Vikings come in, we'll see if they land to try to help finish off these Stalkers. They did take down the late arriving Colossus there. So it looks like RedArchon won that handily off the strength of those Vikings taking down the Colossus, and the medevacs doing a great job healing on the Marauders. The point defense drone was also able to neutralize those Stalkers. So HuK is going to have to come up with something new to take on this army. Looks like he's working on ground weapons level 2, as well as a few more Immortals, perhaps to counter